Hello, this is Kirk.
And this is Byrd on the Kirk and Byrd show. We got a great show coming up. We're going to review Virginia Tech, Notre Dame. We're going to talk about college football, the ACC, and some other stuff. What's up, Kirk?
Oh, man, I have been like chilling this weekend, kind of on the couch watching the games. And then for the last 3 or 4 hours, I recorded another segment on the Kirk Effect, which please go watch. It's a great interview with Gene Bunn. But I've been, like Rusty and I have been collaborating. I'm really excited about the first segment that we're going to do. We're going to put out 2 segments tonight, 2 separate segments. And Rusty and I both want to talk about the Virginia Tech Notre Dame game. So, Hudson, I'm going to turn it over to you. I got a lot to say, but what are your feelings on a huge game? You know, Lane Stadium was rocking. It was competitive. What's your feel?
So first, I'd like to start off by saying in the prediction category, I am 1-0. You owe me a chicken sandwich.
From Papa.
From Papa. Excuse me. Next, I didn't want to be right.
Right.
And I almost wasn't. I think this game, I think this game came down to who, gosh, I cannot talk, gosh. Go ahead.
I'll take over. No, don't worry about it. This pollen's been terrible. Don't worry about it. If you want to mute, go ahead. So we'll just switch roles. I think this is like an on-the-fence game. I don't think Virginia Tech, and we talked about, we differ on this, which is good. I don't think Virginia Tech blew it. I thought Virginia Tech played well. Did they play well enough? No. But they played well. For a while, we were doing it. You know, we had some drives. They were driving. I think it was 7 minutes left. We had interception, and I'm like, wow, this is looking good. When we went up by 8 points, I mean, I didn't think there was time enough for them to score and do a 2-point conversion, let alone turn that around and kick a field goal. So my feeling is this, and I'll get back to you, Rusty, is that I don't think this is a game that we gave away. Like there was a bad scheme. Somebody missed an assignment. We had a bad plan. I will say this, Notre Dame at the end was firing on all cylinders. And I think that because of our youth, we slowed down. But I will tell you, when they put that second quarterback in, and Charlie, whatever his name was, we were pounding that kid. And I thought it was a great opportunity. Unfortunately, we missed it. I would say there's some good things to come from that game. And we're going to go into that after your perspective.
Yeah.
But I think there also are some things to worry about. So now, hopefully the pollen has gotten out of your basement. I'm going to have to come there and check it from all. But give me your feelings, because I know they're a little different.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it. To me, Tech blew it, and I'm trying not to be negative, but when I just look at the basic facts of the game, it wasn't really a great game by either team. It was, because if you look at statistically, who was the best player for Tech? It looks like it's Burmeister, right? Why? Because he threw for the most yards. I mean, he's starting quarterback, of course, but he also was a leading rusher. But I mean, he passed for 187 yards. On the overall, I mean, our leading rushers are quarterback at 49 yards, and they just to me, they blew because this was not a good Notre Dame team.
That's a good point.
I thought my overall point is this. It doesn't matter if they played well or didn't play bad. They lost. this was their opportunity to, no matter what, look back and say, hey, remember in 2021 when we beat Notre Dame?
Right.
It doesn't matter. Cincinnati can say that, and Cincinnati's, won that when when the stakes were even greater, because they were both undefeated. I just look at it like, hey, look, we had a chance to beat Notre Dame when they were 14 in the country. They came into our house. And after that, nobody's going to say, but it wasn't a great Notre Dame team. They didn't have a good running game. The quarterback was there. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Especially after the way Notre Dame treated us last year. I mentioned before the game that I thought Notre Dame was going to be a little bit more, not revenge factor, but like, after losing to Cincinnati, they were not going to want to lose this week. But right. I also go, well, come on, Tech. Like, after you got beat, in the past by Notre Dame, you got to want this more than them. And so I guess just not trying to be Mr. Pessimist, but just saying the reality is we lost. We lost. How many people play in the NCAA basketball tournament and they almost beat Duke? They almost beat Kentucky in the first or second round.
Kentucky in 1992. Yeah.
Right. How many number one seeds almost get beat? And and nobody remembers after that. So go ahead.
I remember the only number one seed to get beat, by the way.
You know what? I'll take losing.
Let's not get off
number one seed if we're going to win a national championship. I'll do that every other year.
So, obviously, this is not a Notre Dame hat. This is Emory and Henry football, where my great friend and mentor, like a big brother, Coach Kirk Newsom, is the head coach. But this game is hard to put your finger on. I saw a lot of things I liked. Burmeister was a little gimpy, but even when he was gimpy, he had some great runs. I like him as a player. Is he our best player? I stand by this. Trey Turner is our best player, in my opinion. And
okay.
Yeah, I don't know that Trey is going to go in the first 2 or 3 rounds because of the kind of offense. We don't give him the ball enough. But this is a game we could have won. We should have won. Blew it, I don't know. Some of the plays, like, for instance, last year, in the last couple of years, Justin Hamilton is growing. He's a young coordinator. He's following a legend. There were times when, the fan base was like, what are we doing calling that? I didn't see that. I saw solid. So let's transition to this because we got a guest calling in. And that's this. All right, we're going to have our guest, and here comes my buddy Aaron McMahon right now. He'll get on here in just a second, but I think the thing that you might want to ask Aaron is what happens next, Rusty? And that is, okay, we got a great Pittsburgh team that we're going to be playing that basically got upset by Western Michigan. Otherwise, they've steamrolled. So what's going to happen next? So, Aaron, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you guys doing, Kirk and Rusty?
Hey, doing well. Doing very well.
Good, man. Good to hear from you. Talked from you earlier today. Aaron's a guy, man. I call him during the game. We've known each other since '87. We had freshman literature together, and he's always just straight on point. He knows the stuff. We got to get him on here for basketball preview also. But Aaron, we just want to turn it over to you. Rusty and I have given a little bit of, what we think, but, always respect what you have to say. You know a lot about the game. What's your take on last night's game, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, Aaron?
So I was a little disappointed. I think it was a little winnable game, especially when Tech went up 10-0. I thought we were sitting pretty. Notre Dame's offense is very mediocre.
Yes.
But it was disappointing. We couldn't pull it out. It was tied towards the end, and Notre Dame drove down, scored a winning field goal to win the game. Unfortunately, I'm not shocked. I mean, I think Notre Dame is probably better than us. I think Tech's kind of a mediocre team, and I think they have been for years. and it's disappointing because I think they have a decent team this year. I think their defense is above average. I think their defense is really good. I love their secondary. That pick 6 by Waller was awesome. And Waller's having a hell of a year. Going towards the Pittsburgh game, I'm really not optimistic. Pittsburgh just kind of has our number. Pittsburgh beat the crap out of Tech last year, 47-14. The game's in Blacksburg this year, which is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
They have a quarterback, Kenny Pickett, is a senior. He's got 19 touchdowns and 1 interception. Burmeister has 5 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Tech's red zone offense is pathetic. We played a mediocre West Virginia team in West Virginia. We could have won. We had the ball 1st and 10 inside the 10 to win the game.
Twice.
And we went 4 and out.
Yeah, not the final one, but we were inside the 10. So
yeah.
So
Aaron, I like Aaron, I like where you're coming from, man, because you know, you were keeping it real. Like, I mean, I know you're disappointed, but you were hitting all the right keys.
Well, I got one point to make, and this is the main point. Fuente bet on the wrong dog. Hendon Hooker is a much better quarterback than Burmeister. Have you guys seen Hooker's stats at Tennessee? He is killing it.
Yeah.
Aaron, my man, thank you.
Quincy Patterson's doing good at North Dakota State. The bottom line is when you got 3 quarterbacks and you're rotating them, Aaron, you saw this because you and I watch every game. It's just like somebody will get in and start playing well, and they take them out. And Hooker, who was a great recruit from Greensboro, he never got the chance. And that is one thing that is a little good because Burmeister is from Oregon and he is a junior, is that he is getting to play if he stays healthy. But, yeah, I hear you on that. There's been too much, platooning, and I totally agree with you. Tennessee had a big victory this weekend. Yeah, I want to try.
Hooker crushed South Carolina. He had 3 touchdowns. They crushed South Carolina. Hooker has 13 touchdowns and 1 interception. He is killing it.
Aaron, I love you already, but we got to have Aaron on every week because he's keeping it real. Like, we need the Virginia Tech QB show. Tell me, what did Quincy Patterson ever do that didn't even allow him to get more looks? When I noticed over the last couple of years, whenever he was in the game, it was impactful. Like, what was he doing wrong? Like, out of this group of 3 we're talking about, Burmeister, to me, was number 3.
Well, I mean, I think Burmeister is kind of pretty good. He's not great. I think Patterson was such a great runner. They never really let him pass.
You have to develop into a passer, though.
That's true. And in that Notre Dame game, when I think Patterson played almost the entire Notre Dame game, if it wasn't last year, it was the year before, and he almost beat Notre Dame single-handedly. It was like a 1-point game.
Yep. So, I just want to say that. I'm sorry, Kirk. He just made another great point. We're sitting here saying Braxton does some things well, but what you just said, Aaron, is, and you even said it too, Kirk, like, okay, Quincy ran. Well, if you look at what Burmeister does, like, what he was the leading rusher yesterday for Virginia Tech. And I know Braxton is athletic. I think he runs well. But if our quarterback is going to be required to run, we might as well have Quincy. We got to have the whole show on that. This is a Notre Dame review, but we're going to have that QB show, and we need to do it quick.
I tell you what, there's something else I want to cover with Aaron and get his valuable opinion, but I will tell you this. The Quincy Patterson debate, the Hendon Hooker debate, Willis, we didn't mention Willis. Willis looked good at times also. I think sometimes you can bring in too many quarterbacks. And Coach Fuente is good because he's got that pedigree with Andy Dalton. And I'm sorry that I forgot the kid's name at Memphis. He is good at attracting quarterbacks, but the bottom line is sometimes you can have too many, horses in the stable. But Aaron, what I want to ask you is this. All right, we're playing Pittsburgh next, and we're playing a very good Pittsburgh team. All right, now if I look at the standings right now, we're 3-2. Pitt is 4-1, and that one loss was to Western Michigan. 2 questions for you. All right. If we win the Pittsburgh game, how do you see us doing? And then
if we win go ahead.
I was going to say the second one is simple. If we lose the Pittsburgh game, how do you see us doing?
If we win the Pittsburgh game, I see us winning the Coastal. And because Clemson isn't that great this year, the ACC is up for grabs. I don't think we're going to win the Pittsburgh game. If we lose the Pittsburgh game, I think that we'll go to a mediocre bowl game like we have every year for the last, 7 or 8 years. Pittsburgh's better than us. I just don't see us winning the game, even though it's at home. If we do, I'll be surprised. I think we have a chance, but I just don't see it happening.
Right. So if we win the Pittsburgh game, Pittsburgh will be 4-2. We'll be 4-2. Then I'm talking about the Coastal. We've got Virginia, Georgia Tech, North Carolina. We've already played North Carolina. We got Miami and we got Duke. So if we win those games, I don't see a game on that schedule that we can't win. Now, here's the flip side, Aaron. If we lose to Pittsburgh, I think there's only one game on there that we could chalk up and say we're going to win this game, and that's Duke. Duke at home. What's your opinion on the rest of the schedule? Because we have to turn right around, and after Pittsburgh, we're going to be playing Syracuse at our place. And I'm not saying Syracuse is world beaters, but they're playing better ball. I mean, what's your feeling on that? And then the following week, we got to go to Atlanta and play Georgia Tech. What do you think?
Well, so the saving grace is the Coastal Division of the ACC is extremely mediocre.
The ACC
right now,
is mediocre. The entire ACC is mediocre.
That's true. It's and Clemson down kind of gives everybody hope, right? NC State beat Clemson. Clemson never loses to ACC teams. So forget overall records. Pitt is 1-0 in the ACC. Tech is 1-0 in the ACC. They're at the top of the standings right now. Virginia looks good. They've got a great offense, a bad defense. Miami's Miami. They're very mediocre. Georgia Tech's mediocre. Carolina, we beat Carolina when they're ranked. Carolina was overrated. They're not very good. It's too hard to predict. It's just up for grabs. I don't think any team's better than the other teams. It's all a bunch of mediocre teams. Yeah. I think if Tech beats Pittsburgh, they're sitting pretty. They're sitting pretty. They can win the Coastal. Right. I think if Tech loses to Pittsburgh, it's going to be hard to win the Coastal.
Well, Aaron, what I'm thinking is that you've got a week coming up right now, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, where there's going to be turmoil around the program. I mean, we're a big-time football program. Maybe we're not Georgia, Alabama, Penn State, but we're still a big-time football program. So there's turmoil, right? And that comes into coaching, the way you lead people, the way you change things. But let's say we lose to Pittsburgh. Let's say we lose to Pittsburgh on a last-second field goal. Or what if Pittsburgh waxes us? What do you think the outlook. I know the ACC is weak, but could you see Tech going on a skid because of morality and things like that? Because this is a young team.
I think if they lose a close game to Pittsburgh, they'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Although that is demoralizing to lose a close game, especially 2 in a row after Notre Dame. If they get waxed by Pittsburgh, I think it's all over. I think Virginia's better than people think. I think their quarterback is a lot better than our quarterback. Virginia, their defense isn't good, but I think Virginia's probably the second best team in the Coastal right now. So I got that game on my radar. Miami's unpredictable. You just never know with them. Georgia Tech, it's Georgia Tech. I mean, Duke is Duke. We should beat Duke easily. I really think that Pittsburgh's a must-win game if they're going to go anywhere this year. If they want to win the Coastal, they have to beat Pitt. This week's game is the most important game on the schedule.
I agree.
Guys, let me tell you something. If you close your eyes and you everything you just said, and imagine that you actually were a Pitt, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, Boston College, even Duke, Miami, or UVA alum, you could say the same thing. I think everybody looking at the rest of their season and schedule could say, we could beat them, or we could beat them. Like, I'm looking at this, every team here we could beat, but every team here we could lose to. And it's just, I think it's going to be one of those momentum things where it's like, where do we sit right now in terms of overall record and perspective? And so that's the thing I say about the loss to Notre Dame. It does no good to barely beat them, because in the end, if we, like, what we are is we're 3-2, but we also are saying, hey, we could be 5-0. I think if we lose this game perspective-wise, only thing people are going to feel is we're 3-3. We're 3-3 going to Syracuse. How does that go momentum-wise? We're on a 2-game losing streak. We're going, we're playing Syracuse, Georgia Tech. Like, every team here, Georgia Tech, nobody's as bad as they have been over the last, like, at their worst, where some of them were over the last 5 years. I mean, Miami's bad. Duke's bad. But Virginia Tech is vulnerable. And so, if we didn't lose another game, we'd all be happy, because we all, before the season, would probably take 8-3, not knowing where those wins or losses were going to come from. But if we're 3-3 after next week, I see the season kind of splitting the rest of the way and easily finishing, 7-5. What did you play? They took 12 games?
Oh,
13, 12, right. 7-5, 6-6, easily.
Okay. So, Aaron, we're going to let you go, but I got one question for you. We're not big on calling people out and criticizing real people, with families and kids and all that stuff. But let me ask you this, and I know you're going to be straightforward about it. If we finish 7-5 or 6-6, what happens to Justin Fuente?
Well, I think Justin Fuente's kind of I think he knows that if he doesn't do well this year, if they don't finish with a good record and go to a bowl this year, the writing's on the wall. I don't know if the Tech AD will fire him this year just because of monetary situation.
Yeah.
But if it's not this year, if they don't do well this year, then it's just a matter of time. Yeah. He's just going to be a lame duck.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing with that, Aaron, and we'll let you go, and I want to ask you something about our next segment that should be fun. But if they do that, we're going to get killed in recruiting, because everybody that's recruiting
right
is going to be like, he ain't going to be there. Okay.
And aren't we recruiting now?
Of course, we're recruiting now, and they're saying that now. Absolutely, they're saying that now. But if Fuente finishes 7-5, or 6-6, man, there is going to be a thunderstorm, and coaches are really going to be like, "You're looking at Virginia Tech. That guy recruiting you is going to be gone." Your position coach, which the position coaches are the ones that form all the relationships and the coordinators and that, the head coaches, it's the position coach and your recruiter. And, if I'm the competition, I'm coming in and saying, that guy ain't going to be there. Your recruiter that's walked into and talked to your parents he ain't going to be there. And that's an interesting fact. But I will say this, I'm a Hokie. I want them to succeed. I want them to beat Pittsburgh. I will tell you this. I think they can beat Pittsburgh. Are they going
Yeah,
to?
they can.
Yeah. Are they going to? I don't think so. So let's transition to this. Aaron, we're going to end this segment and start a new segment on college football. Now, yesterday was a crazy day, so we don't have time to go through the whole thing. But let me ask you, Aaron, who do you think's going to that playoff, and who do you think can win it? And I think that's pretty hard to predict right now. What are your thoughts on the college scene?
I like Georgia. I think they're going to win it all this year. I think they're sitting pretty. Alabama losing at Texas A&M was a shocker. Unranked Texas A&M. Clemson's garbage compared to how they usually are.
They're not even in the conversation.
Yeah.
They're extremely – their offense is nothing. Go ahead, Aaron.
Penn State was a huge game, 3-4. Was that game at Penn State? Did Iowa beat Penn State in?
No, it was in Iowa.
No, it was in Kinnick. It was in Iowa City.
It was in Iowa. So Iowa's interesting team. I don't think they're dominant. I think they got a great defense. I think their offense is okay. Oh my God. Oh, sorry guys. I got money on Buffalo. Buffalo's destroying Kansas City right now. No, I think Georgia. I think Georgia's the team to beat. I don't know who the top 4 teams will be. You got to think Alabama will be there in the end. Georgia, Alabama, Iowa's looking good. It's tough because Clemson's so dominant usually, and they're just not that good this year. But I think Georgia's sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, I think Georgia. If the only thing I'll say is that if Alabama runs the table and they play Georgia in the SEC championship, I know Georgia's a great team this year, but Nick Saban is one of those guys that can coach his rear end off. It's not just talent. So Rusty was asking me, could I see a 2-loss Alabama team getting in? And I think 3 weeks from now, we're going to have a much better picture. But you are among a lot of people that likes Georgia, and they are a very good, dominant football team. And they got quite a few quarterbacks, and I think they play with a backup this week. So, Aaron, thanks for having you on. Let's be regular. By the way, we got to get a basketball preview going fast because basketball is starting sooner than normal because of COVID. So, got a lot of great things to talk about with the Hokies. They're going to be one of the best shooting teams in the ACC.
And they just got their best
DeMatha.
Recruit, Rodney Rice, DeMatha, superstar, NBA player.
Yep. We're going to be one of the best shooting teams. But look, we'll let you get back to Buffalo, Kansas City. I hope you win. And let's have you back on regular. Thank you very much, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
All right.
Enjoyed it.
Sure. Thanks, guys.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right. So, Rusty, that pretty much sums it up. I mean,
So go ahead, Kirk, and then I'll give you a little more perspective, a few more points I wanted to make.
That's fine. I think that if Pitt handles us, I'm worried because there's a lot of youth on this team. Mm-hmm. And, One of the things that several people I talked to today, if Burmeister goes down, depth at quarterback is an issue. So, and Burmeister, has been injured in the past. So I would say that I think that next week's game is key. I do think, like Aaron said, if we win that game, I don't care if we win it by 1 or 2 points. Sure, we could win the Coastal. But I also think the flip side is that this program has been in I hate to say this, but a state of mediocrity. Those kids know the talent's down. They know that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So but this is the thing. I'm not extremely mediocre. And look at this. Like, let me ask you this: this team is so mediocre? If I ask you, I think the defense is better, much better than the offense. Who is the dominant player on our offense?
Well, the guy that's touching the football every time, and he's got some talent. Braxton Burmeister has some talent. He's a really nice, good, hard-working kid. He's not your prototypical NFL quarterback. He's not extremely tall. His arm is good. He's got some limitations. I go back to what I said. First of all, maybe the best football player is out for the year, and that's James Mitchell from Big Stone Gap, Wise County, Virginia, that had NFL written all over him. And I really hope that young man recovers and has the opportunity to play on Sundays. I don't know if there's a medical red shirt in there, but I don't know how much you've seen him play, Rusty, but he is big and he can run. So
no, I haven't.
But it's the reason
you didn't listen to the way I phrased the question. I said, "Who is the most dominant?"
And because there's
because I didn't say who is the most productive it's productive for this team, but the most dominant. And technically, you are correct because Braxton.
It's Burmeister.
Because Burmeister leads us in passing and he leads the team in rushing, but he's not dominant. Nobody is looking at Braxton Burmeister in the ACC and going, he's a dominant ACC player compared to the rest of the league, or even compared to the previous way that Virginia Tech played and had quarterbacks or a skilled player at running back or receiver or special teams. He's the best we have. But again, I'm going back to the fact that he would be third if the other two quarterbacks returned. This is my thing. He's the best. I don't think he's a dominant player. He's the most dominant of our squad, but that's not saying much when you consider the fact that this team, Burmeister, okay, again, he's dominant to the point, though, that you're saying he's passed for 930 yards, but he's only got 5 touchdowns, and he's thrown 2 interceptions. He's a leading rusher, but he's got 189 yards, and our running back, the best running back, has 179. Yeah. I just say after 5 games, and I just don't see this team having a go-to player. Right. I don't see then this is what I said the other day with Mike on this show. Virginia Tech had not just a good, but a great defense for years, dominant, great special teams. So part of the thinking in hiring this Fuente is that let's bring in somebody that's going to make the offense not good, but uber good, uber protect, extra great. So to go along with those other 2 keys to winning, defense, special teams, we're going to put up the points. Right. And we're not putting up the points. We're not putting up the yards. We're not scaring anyone this year offensively.
First and foremost, we've got an attention span with our audience, and so I'll put it like this, Rusty. Braxton Burmeister in 2007 or 2008 or 2009, all right, Total different story. Think about this, though. Think about Braxton Burmeister and we're going back here, but with Andre Davis, Ricky Hall, the running backs like Lee Suggs, Kevin Jones, Brandon Flowers, the linebackers that we've had, Xavier Adibi, Vince Hall. What I'm talking to you about is the amount of talent. Talent fires you up. I mean, Braxton has some limitations. The great news is he's a junior and he can work on them. But you think about the talent around him. And, this is the program overall. If we don't bring this talent level up, finito. Not finito, but we are going to be a team that, hey, remember the glory years? Remember when we had 6-10 win seasons? And here's the thing. We got a lot of good things in place. We're spending a lot of money on facilities. All right. We brought in a lot of Virginia guys. They know Richmond. They know 757. Ryan Smith's doing an excellent job. We've got a guy in a non-coaching role from Stonebridge, Jaron Gavea, who is going to make a big difference. We've got J.C. Price, a Virginia Tech guy. And, there is an opportunity to improve upon this. But I think our whole conversation is we're kind of living in yesteryear where the talent was a big level above. And I don't want to name anybody out, but I've said this for the last 4 years. There are kids that start for us that would have been third string on teams 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. That's nobody's fault, except for the fact that we got to right this ship. So let's do this. Let's close off. Let's talk about it. Prediction time.
Okay.
Right. I owe you a Popeye's chicken sandwich, so you can tell me what it's worth. All right, Pittsburgh, what do you like?
Based on the numbers I see Pittsburgh putting up on the scoreboard, I don't think we can keep up with them. I'm looking now. They beat UMass 51-7. They put up 41 on Tennessee. They put up 44 on Western Michigan, 77 points on New Hampshire, and they put up 52 on Georgia Tech. I don't think we can score with them. So my prediction for my second chicken sandwich is Pittsburgh.
I was hoping you at least change up the treat.
Okay, we can do. Let's go. We can go with Diet Mountain Dew.
No. Firehouse Subs. Anyway.
Okay, that's cool. That's good. That sounds good.
I would say this. I'm forever the optimist. All right. I said when we talked to Mike Burnham that Blackshear and Holston needed to have 120 to 140 yards. I didn't have. All right. Pittsburgh is not a big bruising team. All right. So I think they're going to right the ship. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'll tell you, when we get on here next week, and if we're coming off of a loss, you're going to hear me talking about we got a rough road to travel. But I like the guys that we have in place. I think very highly of Justin Hamilton. And I think that Coach Fu, X's and O's, the question is, when you're in a situation like this, you're the CEO, okay? The defensive coordinator, okay, your assistants, all right, they take a back seat. You're the man and you're running the show. Let's see what he can do in a critical week to prepare this team. Big kudos to Justin Fuente if we pull out a win, because if we pull out a win, if you look at the rest of that schedule, there's not a team on there that we can't beat. The one that worries me the most is Boston College at BC because they always play tough. So being the homer that I am, and having a Virginia Tech diploma, I'm going to go with the Hokies by a touchdown, not a field goal. And, that all has to do on a good week of preparation. This is a mental game. This. Football is a mental game. Get these kids out there, take the positive from Notre Dame, wipe away the negative. I like us winning over Pittsburgh. After that, who knows? And I have to say this little caveat. If we lose to Pittsburgh, I'm worried about a 7-5, 6-6. However, it's homecoming next week. Great chance. We did a lot of things right. Let's end this segment. And then, the way we're going, I'm going to have to take you to the Costco, to buy you food. But good segment. And by the way, for those folks out there, we're on YouTube now, The Kirk and Byrd Show. We are on Twitter, The Kirk and Byrd. Rusty's last name is B-Y-R-D, which is the way you're supposed to spell Bird unless you're Larry Bird. So, give us feedback. If you think we're, horrible, we don't know what the heck we're talking about, we want to hear that.
Yeah.
If you said, hey, you guys missed something, totally, you didn't talk about Dax Hollyfield's, targeting call or whatever, but we want you to follow us. We're also on podcasts for audio only. We'll put our Buzzsprout out there that has, Google, Apple, Spotify, and the other one I can't think of right now. But we all want to encourage you. This is the Kirk and Byrd Show. We're going to sign out. Good week coming up. We could win the ACC, or, this is what college football is all about. All right.
Yep.
Out here, Russell.
Okay. Out.
All right. Kirk and Byrd out.